This summer reading list may be a bit weird or polarizing because half of it is pure feel-good summery seasonal read, but the other half is going to be pure Summerween. This isn't a trend that I normally observe, but to help me suffer through the indignity of what is looking to be like another uncharacteristically scorching English summer season, I will definitely be scheduling some time in June and July to draw the curtains, crank the aircon up, and cut up my favourite spooky activities and hobbies, including reading some good creepy books. This reading list also kind of speaks to the dichotomy of who I am as a reader. I do love literary fiction and classics, but I also love dark, suspenseful, creepy thrillers, horror works, classics, and this reading list is kind of a blend of both of those. If you are new here, my name is Charlotte and my channel is Charlotteshelves, and these are my shelves, so please consider subscribing. You are so welcome here. Book number one, I do not own it yet. I've put it on my birthday wish list because my birthday is in the summer. This is A Poem for Every Summer Day. This is edited and curated by Ali Essery. I have enjoyed their seasonal anthologies that I have previously read. They always perfectly encapsulate a season or a holiday with beauty and lyricism and sort of the seasonal atmosphere, and I thought this summer collection of poetry would be perfect for summer. Revolutionary. Additionally, if you can think of any poetry anthologies that would be wonderful to read in this sort of late spring, early summer that we're going into, do let me know in the comments. Book 2 is Beach Read by Emily Henry. As you probably already know, she writes light-hearted, easy reading, romance, domestic drama type of novels. They are relaxed and so easy to read when you're having a lazy summer holiday. Plot-wise, I believe this is described as two writers who write very different styles and genres of novels. They decide to swap those. I believe the male is trying to write this great American novel and she is a romance writer, and over the period I think one summer they swap these genres and attempt to write in each other's field. This challenge I think is to get out of literary or creative ruts, and I'm sure some adventures and hijinks and hopefully some romance along the way is going to occur. I'm also hopeful that this has let me know if I've got the wrong impression, but is this kind of the inevitable enemies to lovers kind of trope? Let me know, because I'm actually really in the mood for that. The last Emily Henry novel I read, the two lead characters had such great chemistry, and I'm really hopeful our two love interests do in this work as well. Book number 3 is Living with Jane Austen by Janet Todd. Todd is an internationally acclaimed and very esteemed biographer. When I found out her next book was going to be on Austen, I was delighted. I think I put this on books that I'm most looking forward to reading this year, and I previously had loved her biography of Wollstonecraft. This biography reads slightly differently to me because it's a blend of a biography about Austen but also about Todd's life and what Austen's works have meant to her as an academic in the study of Austen. As a reader, I would imagine we would have lots in common with Todd if you are a lover of Austen and you also have felt that her works have impacted your life and your love of literature. I read that Todd goes back to source material in terms of manuscripts and letters and journals and things from Austen, and this is quoted as saying, "It celebrates the undimmable power of Austen's work to help us understand our own bodies, our environment, teach us about patience, humour, beauty, and the meaning of home." I think that sounds lovely, and this is such a nice edition as well, this little hardback copy that I picked up. Book number 4 kind of links to book number 3 and is a book I want to reread, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I am very much in the mood for a good classic that is well written and also a wonderful comfort read. This book completely changed how I perceived classics when I was a lot younger. Pride and Prejudice on the surface level is a beautiful story of the 5 Bennet sisters, all of whom are in need of husbands. It is about the escapades of their family and the society that they're in and the people they meet. Not only is this book set in an incredible period in history, it's against the backdrop of the tail end of the French Revolution. We're shifting slowly into the Regency period. We have got the British Empire happening. Against that background, Austen is reaching and touching on themes to do with wealth and class. At the forefront of this text, she is also critiquing the issues with primogeniture and inheritance. Status and wealth are also critiqued, and there are some fascinating observations that she makes. There is also some very overt commentary on a woman's place within society and the essentialism of marriage, but also happy marriage and happy matches. And then there is this underbelly regarding the lack of equality that women face in this society. This is such a rich and well-written work, and as cheesy as it sounds, rereading this for I don't even know how many times I've read this. It will feel a tiny bit like returning home, and I really cannot wait to revisit all these long lost friends this summer. Books 5 and 6 are Anything is Possible and O. William by Elizabeth Strout. I read the first book in this series, which is called My Name is Lucy Barton. This was earlier in May, and I gave it 5 stars, and it immediately made me want to read the entirety of this series. I adored Strout's writing style. I sobbed reading Lucy's depiction of her family, her memories, sort of vignettes, slices of life, recollections of Lucy's childhood and the terse and uncomfortable relationships that she had with various family members, but also how those formative relationships informed how much she desperately loves her own children. The first book made some interesting comments also on generational trauma and the legacy of how certain childhood events can sculpt who we are as adults. And her writing is simplistic but evocative and heartbreaking. I believe these are a continuation of kind of who she was in book number 1. I think she goes back to her hometown to revisit other characters that we've heard about in book 1, so she'll revisit family members. Lucy is originally from a very small town called Amgash in Illinois, and I think we'll see more of her rural life in books 2, 3 and 4. So that is largely the literary fiction and summer reading that I would like to crack on with this year. However, we are now going to move on to the Summerween portion of this video. If you are new here, you know that I had to take a little break from horror and distressing subject matter for a bit for my mental health's sake, and I am very ready to dip my toes not only into paddling pools this summer but back into some creepy spooky reads. Book number 7 is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. This was the first Stephen King book I had ever read. Got it out of the library when I was like a kid, and it had a spooky house on the cover, and I just thought, ooh, a spooky haunted house kind of tale, and that was all I knew about it. It has been so long since I've read it that I feel like I've forgotten enough of what happened, but know just enough to know that this probably won't trigger my PTSD by rereading it. And whilst I'm sure many of you actually know the genre of what this book is about, I am not going to tell you, because if you don't, I would love for you to go in blind and for certain things to be revealed. Salem's Lot is a town originally called Jerusalem's, and a writer is returning who's kind of Stephen King-esque, a bit of self-insertion there. He returns to the town because there has been this spooky kind of haunted house to return and maybe write a book about this house. But when he returns, he realizes some events have been going on and things are not okay. He also realizes there are a number of deaths or missing people, and he starts to investigate. He then realizes there might need to be some confrontations, explorations, and he kind of gathers a group of residents at this village, or this town rather, together, maybe even fight what has been going on, because things are not okay. Something is very unwell in this small town. Book 9 is another Stephen King that I know absolutely nothing about. I just saw this in the library, but I just fancied something shorter as well. I think my copy of Salem's Lot is 700 odd pages, and I think this is closer to 250 or something, and I thought this could be a nice smaller horror to break up all the other books that I want to get to in the next few months. If you would care to, do let me know what this is about without spoilers. Book number 9 is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I saw the film adaptation of this a few years ago and found it deeply unsettling, and it made me want to read this book. I think this is book 1 of 3 or even 4 in a series. This is a horror, eco-horror hybrid. I think there's a little bit of sci-fi, kind of contagion narrative. It's a little bit of a blend. We follow a lead protagonist known only as the biologist as they explore this particular area called Area X. In their company there are 3 other scientists. The area they're going to has been cordoned off for a bunch of mysterious and sort of government-held secret reasons. Nearly all the expeditions that have gone ahead of this group have either perished, returned different or entirely changed, or died shortly after their return. We do not know why this is, and we do not know what is going on behind these cordon areas in Area X. What follows is meant to be a distressing, atmospheric and tense narrative of what was going to happen in this operation. This is laden with dread and discomfort, and we will soon learn more about a world that is toxic and dangerous. And what is a little eco or climate anxiety type work in the midst of a boiling hot summer? If you have read this and have also seen the film, do let me know what you think of the book to film adaptation, because I'm tempted to also go back and watch the film again after reading this. I don't know if the film is just a adaptation of this work or if it picks up books 2 and 3 as well. Do let me know, because I'd be very curious. Now we move into our thrillers and mysteries portion. Book number 9 is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I've read a few Christie novels in my life, and this is, I think, her most highly esteemed work. What attracted me to this work is that it is also typified by having a claustrophobic, intense plot style. I know this is a murder mystery, and I think it's also another whodunit, which is absolutely up my avenue. I've also managed to reach my current age without any spoilers for this book, and a couple of her works I haven't read simply because someone has told me the twist or who the killer is. I have deliberately tried to steer away from it being spoilt. All I know, and please do not ruin this for me, all I know is that I think 10 or 11 strangers go to or are invited to a remote island down in, is it Devon or Cornwall, and they start to get picked off one by one. I know there is a music record with lyrics, and there's some sort of clues or keys to when that piece of music plays or something like that, but each of these people have a dark secret each, or they have committed some. Do let me know if you think this will be too scary for me, but I'm hoping, as much as the plot is around murder, I'm hoping it'll be a little bit of a cozy mystery and perfect for summer too. Book 11 is The Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I just saw this in the library and went, I really want to read that. I personally find Sager's books to be quite hit and miss, and when I watch reviews of this, people describe it in the same sort of 2 or 3 sentences, so I'm just going to regurgitate that for you. There are 2 boys camping in this lovely, it's meant to be described more like a suburbia, and they both fall asleep having a really nice camping play date in their garden, and one boy wakes up and one is missing, and the tent has been slashed open and this child has been abducted, and then I don't know what happens next. And I believe this child then grows up and decides to return home, and they quickly realise all is not right with suburbia. I think our lead character is also still trying to solve the harrowing events of his childhood best friend who went missing or was abducted. Apparently this one has quite the sting in the tail. Whenever I see the captions for it listed on book sites, they always describe it as big, shocking twist, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, I'm quite in the mood for that, to be honest. The final 3 books I think I've put in my top 26 books that I want to read in 2026, so I will go through them. I'll try to go through them a bit more quicker. I've never been quick in my life when it comes to talking about books. Book 12 is The Wax Child by Olga Raven. This is litfic, which is literary history set in the 1600s, creepy. I actually saw some people characterize this as horror. I know it's also about womanhood and bodily autonomy. I think there's some feminist themes running through this. On paper, tick, tick, tick. Everything that I love. It is told through the perspective of this little wax child. As you can see, I am about halfway through, and I think the hype has done it to me again. At the moment, I'm sitting around a 2 to 3. I am not finding it particularly creepy or sultry or any of those things that it was kind of described with, but I'm only 50% of the way through, and I'm hoping for a better reading experience for the next 50%. Book 13 is Feeding the Monster. This is a non-fiction work that looks at why we love horror and how we experience it the way we do, why we're drawn to it. I think it analyzes both horror novels but also horror movies, correct me if I'm wrong, but also kind of maybe cultural studies, like looking at how sociologically we enjoy the things that are macabre and scary and distressing. And finally, books 14, 15, 16 is the Murderbot series. I had mentioned earlier in the year that I wanted to read these. I read books 1 and 2, immensely enjoyed them. They are light, easy to read, fast-paced sci-fi novels centered around a sentient, self-aware murder bot and their escapades and their adventures as they travel throughout space, and they get into many hijinks. The sci-fi fantasy world building in these small novellas is phenomenal. You are instantly drawn into a very believable futuristic world, and yeah, I just want to read the next, I think there's 8 in this series. So these are all the books that I would like to read over the next 2 or 3 months for summer and Summerween. Please do let me know what you're reading this summer. I'm very much open for recommendations that are also feel good, summery kind of works, but also those that lean into the creepier Summerween aesthetic. Since I finished my reading ban and my TBR, I have not been in a reading slump at all. It has been wonderful to be back up and reading with a bit more pace. I was, as you know, getting quite sluggish and feeling quite slow and worried about my brain in general, and it's been really nice to actually pick up the pace a little bit and to be getting through some new books that I have wanted to read for such a long time. If you made it this far, leave me both a sun and a skull emoji, or two emojis that perfectly encapsulate both summer reading and Summerween reading.